The International Criminal Court is now in session. The Audience de Cour Penal International, 8 of word. Please be seated. Voy a soir.
Thank you very much. The court officer, please, the case.
Good morning. Situation in the Republic of Kenya in the case of the prosecutor versus William Samoei Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang. Case reference ICC 0109-0111, and for the record we are in open session.
Thank you. Appearances?
Good morning, Your Honours. Prosecution remains the same.
Good morning, Your Honours. For the victims, Austin Naranchik and James Maria. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honours. The same as last week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honours. Mr. Sang is present and his team remains the same.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honours. The Ruto team remains the same, except that Mr. David Hooper QC is not with us today.
Thank you very much. Witness, welcome back.
Thank you.
Your examinations by counsel will continue. Ms. Alekandra will continue her cross-examination. Remember the advice given to you in terms of observing the pauses. 5 seconds. Speak at a moderate pace. Listen to the questions, understand them, and then answer just the questions as briefly as possible. Thank you. Ms. Alekandra, you indicated that you will be finishing when again?
Your Honour, I had indicated that I will do my best to complete my cross-examination by the lunch break tomorrow. But, Your Honours, perhaps by the end of today, I could review that and advise Your Honours of where I stand in relation to that, Your Honour.
Thank you very much. Please proceed. We are in open session.
Good morning, Mr. Witness.
Good morning.
Did you rest well?
Yeah.
You had a good weekend?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to continue from where we left on Friday. And if you recall, we played for you a video where you saw Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta and Mr. William Ruto address a rally in Eldoret during the 2005 referendum. Is that correct, sir? That's where we stopped on Friday?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just continue playing another portion of that for you, and we'll go to 15.50 seconds. And Your Honours, for the record, I'm playing video Ken D09 0042 0553, and the transcript, Your Honours, is at tab 3 of the defence bundle. That will be Ken D09 0042 0554.
Basi wamesikia, na kama hawezikii ni bahati mbaya sana. Mimi nataka nimshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa siku ya leo. Yeye mwenyewe alijua kwamba tutakuwa hapa 64 Stadium.
Sir, did you listen to what Kalonzo Musyoka said there?
Yes.
And did you hear him mention that the rally was taking place at 64 Stadium?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you agree with me now, sir, that that rally I played for you was taking place in 2005 at the 64 Stadium in Eldoret?
Ms. Alekandra, do you particularly need him to admit it?
No,
Or can
Your
you
Honor.
move on without him admitting it?
Indeed, Your
Because proceedings started yesterday and we're now looped over a weekend, and apart from everything else, it might be a difficult question for the witness to answer.
I will move on, Your Honor. Thank you. So, will you agree with me that the No team during the 2005 referendum, they were representative of the various ethnicities in Kenya?
Yes, there were leaders from different regions in Kenya.
And you will also agree with me that their campaign theme was seeking the support of all Kenyans across all ethnicities. Is that correct?
The leaders in various regions were seeking support of their people, and that is why they had to come from different regions.
And as a whole, Mr. Witness, the No team, so to speak, the national team, what they were looking for was the support of all Kenyans across all ethnicities. Am I correct?
I've answered that leaders in various regions sought votes from people at their particular regions.
And at a national level, Mr. Witness, they wanted the votes of all Kenyans across all tribal divides, yes?
They used any means to make sure that they won.
The question Ms. Alekandra is asking, is it correct to say that those on the no side wanted all Kenyans to vote no, regardless of ethnicity of those Kenyans voting?
If we look at it from the national level, we will say that they wanted to get votes from the whole country.
Thank you for that, sir. So before we continue with the 2005 period, I would just like to go back to an issue we had been discussing regarding your meeting with P22. And, Your Honours, I'd request you go into a private session, please.
For how long?
I anticipate 15 minutes or so, Your Honour.
Private session.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Alekandra.
Now, sir, just going to your conversation with the OTP investigator on 29th of August, I would like to highlight some matters there for the honourable judges. So I'm going to take you to the transcript of that phone conversation you had. And at tab 118, Your Honours, is the transcript of that phone conversation.
Tab 118, Ruto Defense Bundle.
Indeed, Your Honour.
Your Honor,
We're in open session, witness.
yes, did you give the name or you give the person's number?
I just referred to him as an investigator, and that will do for now. Now, sir, before I take you into the actual transcript, let me ask you a few questions. That investigator, sir, who we are talking about, he was in fact one of your friends from the OTP, wasn't he? To borrow your words.
Repeat your question.
The investigator we are speaking about, that we were discussing in closed session just now by name, he was in fact one of your friends in the OTP, am I right?
I know him as an investigator.
Would you consider him as somewhat a friend?
All of them are good friends of mine, and I don't have an enemy amongst all the investigators.
And in fact, that particular investigator, he was closer to you than most of the other investigators, wasn't he?
No, all investigators have been very close to me. I've given statements to so many of them.
And in fact, that was the investigator. If you could not get something done through other investigators or the VWU, he is the one you would go to, and you would get whatever you wanted, isn't it, sir?
No, I've also contacted others on different occasions.
Ms. Alexandra, so that the record is clear, you referred us to tab 118. That would be the transcript appearing at with the bearing the ERN number Ken OTP 0119 0141. Is that it?
Yes, Your Honor.
And we don't need to mention the name of any investigator. The investigator you've been talking about, is that the one whose name appears on the cover page of this transcript?
That is correct, Your Honor.
That's the name of ICC person 1.
Indeed, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Witness, let's go through this conversation you had with the investigator, and particularly I would like to go to lines 148 onwards, and that would be at page ERN 0146. So, let me read now from line 148. The interviewer, who is the investigator we've been talking about, he says to you, so, and I quote, interviewer 1, so, regardless of what people tell you, you know I've always been there from the time we met. Whenever you needed something, I was always there for you. And you say, yeah, and I was also told that you had gone for a leave and you were not in the office. Interviewer 1, quote, yes, that's true. We do from time to time, you know, get our holidays every now and then so we can see our families. But even when I'm on leave, I have my work mobile, and if somebody needs to get a hold of me, They contact me and say this person needs to talk.
Mr. Lagendra, we need to reflect the redactions where they appear within your quotes so that the record is clear that we don't have a continuous statement when there are gaps in the quote.
Yeah, if I can just take that again. I'm going to go back to lines 151 again, and I'm going to quote interviewer 1. And I quote, "Yes, that's true. We do from time to time, you know, get our holidays every now and then, so we can see our families. But even when I'm on leave, I have my work mobile, and if somebody needs to get a hold of me, redacted and redacted, they contact me and say this person needs to talk to you, redacted." Line 155. "So I'm always accessible. I was, you know, I was disappointed to hear a few weeks ago that you just disappeared like that." Just like that, sorry. I move to line 157, and I'm quoting you. And I quote, Yeah. Now it was very hard for me because those people to me, unintelligible, like redacted, was not able again to listen to me. I could talk to him and he could be very serious with me until you could not talk to him. I tried to talk to ... because he is the one I was working the next contact. You know what you meant by work. Let me continue reading from lines 175. This is what you say. "And people in Kenya here think I am well in redacted. So I was getting pressure from those people in redacted and also getting pressure back at home from my family and at home in Eldoret. So it became very hard for me. That's why I just disappeared like that. Until I say that I must, unintelligible, talk to you because it was not good that you wait for me to keep quiet for so long without anyone knowing what was taking place." Then let me go on to line 189. It's at 0147 of the same document. And this is what the investigator says. "Okay, I'm calling you from redacted. So what now? You know what you did was wrong, right? I mean, we were so close. I told you, be patient, be patient, be patient. I was looking after your situation and we were almost there. The trial was about to begin, you know. We're like now 12 days away from the beginning of the trial. We're counting on you for that. A lot of solutions were just around the corner for us to progress and move to the next phase with you and many others. And then you just disappeared. And you know the situation. You know the context under which you disappeared. So it was not the right thing to do. So now what? What are we going to do now? Because this is the first time you tell me about these issues. I never knew about these issues now. And these discussions you've had with some of these individuals that you're telling me about now. You know, for me, as far as I'm concerned, I was any time you needed anything. If there was a problem, things are not good, you could always get a hold of me. So I'm surprised now that you did not let me know that things were so bad that you felt the need to go back to the place where you're running away from. And then you say, yeah, actually I'm sorry for that, because I didn't get a hold of you. By the way, I was very much confused in redacted. And as I was thinking that now that this has happened, and we, unintelligible, it's not good to start a war that you cannot finish. So I am saying that I've tried to think, and I discussed the move with my family here, and I've said, we've decided that yes, we should proceed, but not that if we are going to go back to Dash, we should not stay there for very long again, because I know I'm in terms again with those people in Dash, in redacted, sorry, like redacted, probably redacted, mostly because he was the person I was in direct contact with. I should not. If I'm going back to redacted, then I should not be able to stay there for so long, or else if redacted. Because I don't see how we will continue with redacted and the like who cannot listen to very simple issues that they are supposed to address. Then the investigator says to you, I mean, you know, the people you're mentioning are simply people who relay messages up to HQ. So they're not in the ... They are not there, sorry, ... and they relay messages back to you. They're not the people who make the major decisions. You understand? So like I said, the solution was not to go back, especially under the current circumstances. The solution was to get a hold of someone here at HQ and to address the issues. I have to discuss with my colleagues. Obviously, there is a lot to tell in the few weeks that you've been gone. So I'm sure there's more that you want to tell me, or I assume there's more that you want to tell me than what you're telling me now. You know, the activities or whatever you've been doing for the last few weeks since you were gone, right? Then I move to lines 2 to 3. The investigator goes on to say, okay, and I'm in a very awkward position now. Situation, because you know, you and I met from the first step, and I gave a very good impression about you to the team. And we did a lot of good work. You know, there's been a few obstacles here and there, and a few mistakes made, I'm sure, from both sides, but we were doing very well. So now it's so close to the start of the process here, and I can't, you know. As far as they're concerned, something very, very strange happened when you just disappeared. When you, and I'm moving to the next page, please, 0148. And I'm continuing at lines 2 to 8. Disappeared. When you consider everything that's going on. So I have to now explain to them, you know, what ... Even though you didn't give me it in detail, what the issues were. You said you weren't well, you were sick, but I mean, I need a lot more detail than that to explain your situation and give some assurances as to where we're going to go from here, and that we can count on you and what you are saying. And obviously, what we need to discuss is not going to be resolved over the phone for obvious reasons and security reasons. So I will have to discuss with the team, people above me, about your situation, what we can do, and they're going to want to know more, the reasons, what's been happening for the last few weeks, and I have to convince them of your commitment now for us to try to engage again, if you know what I mean. If we need to do this, I think it's best we meet and do this face to face. Then you say yes, and the investigator says, and I don't want to involve any more people. I think I have to, since you and I started from the beginning, we've always had a good relationship. I think I have to be the one coming to see you. Now, sir, you'll agree with me up until this point of the conversation. you have not told the investigator you are under any threat. Am I right, sir? You did not say it.
Many things we could not discuss on the phone. That's why there was need to talk face to face.
Sir, please answer my question.
Yes, on this conversation, we've not talked about that.
Now, without you telling the investigator anything about you being under any threat, let's see what the investigator says. Let's continue. Line 243. Okay. Your Honor, I think this is a typographical error here. It should be investigator, I think, or interviewer. My learned friend can confirm that.
At 243, it's indicated interviewee, and you were saying it should be interviewer.
Indeed, Your Honor, interviewer 1.
Your Honor, I've also put a question mark there. I see on my transcript it does appear to have been transposed. If one looks at the order of the conversation prior to that, I think line 242 should be interviewee saying okay, and line 243 should be the interviewer continuing from there.
That's noted. So we can sort it out later, but continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. So at line 243, this is what the investigator says to you.
Mrs. Steinberg, your phone, your microphone's on.
Apologies, Your Honor.
Without you having said a word about you being under any threat, he says, okay, and I quote, okay, but obviously it's not safe in the country where you are, so I don't know what your security situation is now, but are you, redacted, are you being monitored? Whether it's your phones. I don't know what you did with your phones. If they're still on, if they're monitoring anything or what. And you didn't let go of that. You picked up from there, and this is what you said, Mr. Witness. And I continue, line 247. You say, yeah, that's why I went out of phone, because I realized, I suspected that they were monitoring my calls, and of late, I'm aware there is one, Mr., we can see the name there, I won't mention it, and the second person's name there, a few, redacted, who went home to meet my parents, wanting them to ask me to show up and to talk to them on the issue. That's why I left Nairobi.
This issue. Is it on this issue?
On this issue, indeed. And I will skip the rest of that part, and I will go to what the investigator then puts into your mind at line 260. He says, okay, but how do you know that your actual movements are not being monitored, that no one is watching you?
Nobody.
That nobody is watching you. And you again won't let that go. You say at line 262, I know I'm in the village, so now I'm here, it's monitored. Okay, so then let's now continue to the next page at 0149. And I'm looking at lines 289. And let me read to you about just how much you meant to the OTP. Line 289, the investigator says, and I quote, because what you do reflects upon you, but also upon me. Interviewee. Okay. And the interviewer says, you remember I brought you into this, so I feel responsible. You understand? We did a lot of good work together, and this is the time now to perform. We are 12 days away, and you know I feel responsible for our successes, and I feel responsible for any failures. Okay?
Just for the accuracy, it says, I don't know if anything turns on it, but the word success and failure appear in the singular, not in the plural that you've read them out.
Thank you, Anna. Do you see that, Mr. Witness?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. So after this conversation you've had with the investigator, the very next day, 30th of August, what does your wife do, Mr. Witness? It's very interesting. Let's go to tab 87 of the defense bundle, Your Honor. And that will be document KenOTP 0138 0626. And I'd like to go to the next page, 0627, please.
Just so we can understand, and this is a question for Mr. Steinberg, would it be correct to say that the report we see Defense tab 87 was a report produced following the conversation that we see the transcript of at tab 118? If you think my question is problematic, tell me so I can stop the discussion right away. It is not.
As I see it until now, no, Your Honor.
You don't see difficulty with my question, okay. Mr. Steinberg, can you advise?
Indeed, Your Honor. The report itself is dated 26th of August 2014. The report would have been produced on the basis of contemporaneous notes made at the time when the actual conversations were happening. So it's a bit of both. Although the report was compiled, if one goes to the first page of the report and it says that there was a conversation that took place on the 28th of August.
And the 29th?
And the 29th and the 30th.
So when you say the report is dated 26th of 2014, yes.
2014, Your Honor.
2014, yeah, almost a year later.
Indeed, Your Honor.
Oh, fair enough. So my question then is, again, sorry about the back and forth, is that the transcript, the conversation reflected in the transcript at tab 118 would have been what informed the creation of the report we see at tab 87. Is that what you're telling us?
Your Honor, that would have been one of the features. The report was put together for the purposes of disclosure. Basically, the contacts with the witnesses were reviewed for disclosable information, and that was then compiled into a report.
Taking into account, amongst other things, as I say, the transcript or the conversation reflected at tab 118?
I'm sure that would have been one of the factors, Your Honor, yes.
Thank you. Please continue, Ms. Salagendra.
Thank you, Honours. So, Mr. Witness, as I was saying, you have this conversation with the investigator, and the very next day, this is what your wife goes and does. And if I'm looking at the second paragraph, and I'm quoting, I quote, on 30 August 2013, there is an email from the field, an email from the FOLC was sent to the, redacted was sent to the Kenya One team, informing the following, and I quote, the spouse of the witness called VWU requesting for rent and subsistence. VW told her that they were under instruction not to send any more money to them. The spouse then informed Redacted that they had been in contact with OTP and he should call them to confirm that the funds should be sent. The email was from your wife. And after this, after your wife is told no more money is going to be sent to either of you, she responds by an SMS saying, sorry for the text, bye-bye forever, you have been so good to us, God bless you. And then, right after you've been told this, your wife says bye-bye. What do, sir? You go and sign that affidavit in Nairobi on the 30th of August. That's what happened, isn't it?
Your last statement, please.
After all of this, when you were told you're receiving no more money from the ICC, you go off and you sign the affidavit in Nairobi. Yes? Same day.
I signed the affidavit after speaking to, when I was speaking with the investigator, I had not signed the affidavit. And this communication you're talking about, you've stated clearly that it is not me doing the communication. So I don't want to speak on behalf of anyone. Please, I know I signed the affidavit after, a few days after direct communication with the investigator.
And Mr. Witness, we'll see there, after not being able to contact you and to communicate with you, on the 9th of December 2013, you sent a message to the same investigator we have been discussing, saying, please, P, let's talk. I need to come back. You sent that message, didn't you, sir?
Yes, I did.
And so, isn't it correct that you were in fact wanting to come back because you needed the money to pay your housing and your living expenses? That's why you wanted to come back, isn't it, sir?
No. That is not true.
And sir, you needed to come back because you were too used to living off witness protection programs as a source of living. Isn't that correct, sir?
No.
So, am I right that for 2.5 years, from December 2010, right until June 2012, I beg your pardon, 4 months before you met the OTP, for 2.5 years, you were in a witness protection program in Kenya? Please just answer yes or no without giving any details. We're in a public session.
I don't remember the dates, but I know I have been in a protection program.
So I put it to you, sir. It was for 2.5 years, from December 2010 right until June 2012, that you were in a witness protection program throughout.
Being in a protection program is not like employing a job. An assessment is done, and when the people doing an assessment deem it fit that you should be in protection, then you are absorbed for protection. Therefore, if I was for that time, it's because it was assessed by experts of the organization that was giving protection at the moment, and they decided that I was to get to their program for reasons they found out in the assessment.
So I'll come back to your statement where you've given the dates of your protection program. And so you can confirm that during that protection program, everything was paid for by the program, isn't it? Your living expenses, school fees, rent, everything, correct?
Yes.
And so am I correct that you own only one piece of land? Am I right?
We own. It's under a joint title.
Of yourself and your wife, correct?
Yes.
So can you tell the owners, where did you get that land from?
Your Honours, it seems to be something that might be identifying.
I support that, Your Honor.
And perhaps you can go into a private session for just that question.
We can go into private session. Remember, you have the privilege of leading questions. We go to private session.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Miss Alakendra, perhaps I should have asked this question in private session, but let's see if we can deal with it in open session. While in private session, you referred to a certain body, but then you reference the program ended. Are we able to know what the program, quote unquote, you're referring to there?
Your Honor, if I may, I was referring to the Witness Protection Program, Your Honor.
All right. witness, is that the case? That it was at the end of the witness protection program?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, so just to assist you with my previous question, Your Honor, if we can go to tab 84 and of the defense bundle, and the document is a Ken OTP 0129 0573, and I'm looking at page 0574. I beg your pardon, I'm looking at page 0573. And I'm looking at the second last paragraph, please. Okay. Do you see that, sir? 26 December 2010. And allow me to read. The protection program started by, and I won't read the organization, Your Honor, it's there, funded possibly by US aid. It ended approximately 5 months ago because there were no more funds. ICC cases were no longer part of their mandate, and a different team was to handle those. They did not refer me to any other agency and said that the previous team did not hand them my file. Finally, they said that I had overstayed in the program, since it should only last 9 months max, and it's been more than 1.5 years for me. There's much misused funds in the hands of these local NGOs. Do you remember telling the prosecution that, sir?
Yes.
Now, let me go to what happens just about 1 week after your interviews with Mr. Garcia from the prosecution ends on 29th October 2012. And Your Honor, that's at tab 92. And the document reference is Ken OTP 0141 0026. If you can zoom in on that paragraph starting 7th November, please. Sir, 1 week after you meet with the OTP, give them your statement. This is a message you sent to them. Hi P, I'm still waiting for your response. And also would like to introduce I won't say the name, but am I correct, sir? They're referring to number 12, person number 12.
Yes.
Another Kalenjin insider who, and you mentioned what he did there, and was a very resourceful person to us. He has information on pre- and post-PEV series of meetings where he personally attended, and he has just been on the run. Just last week on Thursday, he arrived from, I won't mention the place, where he has been hiding since February this year. He contacted me, and I expressed the need of him talking to you using the same approach I used when you contacted Dash, I won't say the name, and you give the context. Then this is what you say about your situation. I am okay here, despite the fact that it has been hard for me to sustain my business. For reasons I already stated, let me know if you have any way to assist. Then it goes on. I also have another, I won't mention the nature of the person, from a place that I won't mention, just as person number 12. She used to assist in cooking for those who attended meetings at, I won't mention the place, and she gave one report that I handed to the team. And this is person number 8. And you give the context. And then you say, I believe she has a lot of information. I believe she has a lot to inform you. She has been on the run. Now she is on the protection program of the same reasons. Then you say this about yourself.
Protection program because.
Because of the same reasons. Thank you, Mona. And then you go on to say this about yourself. Lastly, P, I am desperate. Life is very hard here. You can imagine my situation now has even worsened since I met the team. Please, I don't want to seem as if I'm pushing you so much, but on the other hand, I'm not well. I remain hoping you will intervene. I have lots of debts from rent, meals and family, but my immediate problem is the 12,000 Kenyan shillings. This is causing more harm to me than ever, P. I strongly believe in you. Kindly do something. You sent this message, didn't you, sir?
Yes, I did.
Could we go into private session for just one question?
Private session.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And sir, am I correct, sir, that soon after this is when you went into a ICC witness protection program?
You mean soon after what? This email?
After this communication, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
I don't remember the exact dates.
But would you say soon after?
I don't remember.
And am I correct, sir, that the persons you recommended there, person number 8 and person number 12, the OTP took your recommendations, didn't they?
They did an assessment by talking to them, and later, I'm aware, out of the assessment, they decided to absorb them.
And like you, they too were taken into the ICC Witness Protection Program. Correct, sir?
An assessment was also done to me, and I was absorbed.
Witness, was it before, after, or during the time of this email that you went into the protection program of the ICC? Let me ask that question again. The reason I mentioned the different time frames is to give you the choice. But let me point you more directly. By the time of this communication we just looked at, were you already in the ICC protection program?
After speaking with investigators in protection location 1, I don't remember dates, I was under the protection.
All right, look at that report. Have you seen it? The report that Ms. Alejandra read out to you. I'm trying to see if you can, if you don't remember, that's all right. But thinking about that communication you sent to the ICC investigators, what I want to know is whether you were already in the protection program when you sent that email, or did you send it? Did you get into the protection program after you sent the email?
I think I was in the program.
When you sent the email?
When I sent the email.
Thank you.
So is it your testimony, sir, that you gave a statement to the OTP and 1 week later you were already in the witness protection program? Or were you already in the program when you were giving the statement even?
I got into program after giving the statement and assessment being done.
So was it immediately after?
I don't remember the dates, but I think when I wrote this, I was already part of their program.
Okay, I think we can do the maths for that. And so, just to go back to my other question, the individuals you recommended, person number 8 and 12, they were also taken into the ICC Witness Protection Program. Am I right, sir?
Yes, they were taken.
So now, after the long break in your meeting with the OTP, we have it on record that they finally met with you on the 25th of March 2014. Now, I don't want you to trouble yourself with the dates. We have it on record, and I'll come back to that later. But am I correct, sir, when you re-establish contact with the OTP, this time around you do it through person number 5?
At what time are you talking about? When we were on this subject, or just long time after? Or I don't get exactly what you are asking.
What I'm asking you, sir, is when you are now back into contact again with the OTP.
After discussing this issue on my screen?
We're going long after that, sir, now to this year, March of this year.
I want to say that after I left, I knew I had responsibility on the victims, people who died, children who suffered in camps, and my conscience never stopped. I used any means of people I knew they could re-establish my communication with the OTP so that I can explain myself and ensure I come to this court to give my testimony. And I agree. I also communicated to person number 5 to re-establish communication between OTP and me.
Thank you very much, sir, for that. And person number 5, he is an old friend of yours, isn't he?
He is a friend. I agree.
And you also know he is a witness in this case. Am I right, sir?
I know.
And you also know that he is living outside of Africa, don't you, sir?
I know.
And you also know... So I'm looking at your testimony of 17th November, and I'm at page 24 from my learned friends. He told the chamber that, and this is what you said, Your Honor, Mr. Ruto spoke in Kiswahili, and then at some instant he switched to Kalenjin. Recall that, sir?
Yes.
And those are the only 2 languages he spoke, am I right?
I heard him in the 2 languages.
So is that a yes, sir? So you didn't hear any other languages then, isn't it?
I heard the 2 languages.
Did you hear any other languages, sir?
No.
And you told the court that when he spoke in Swahili, he wanted people to vote against the Constitution, correct?
Yes.
And it was normal campaign speech. Am I right, sir?
Repeat that question, please.
It was normal campaign speech that he made in Swahili.
No more?
Normal.
Yes, usual.
And then you said that when Mr. Ruto spoke in Kalenjin, that is when he used the phrase or the word mushrooms. Am I right, sir?
White mushrooms.
Indeed. He said white mushrooms. Yes?
You want me to repeat what he said?
Indeed.
That he was seeing white mushrooms that had not been uprooted or eaten.
And you told the court that by white mushrooms, Mr. Ruto was referring to the Kikuyu people. Is that right, sir?
I understood him to mean the Kikuyu people.
And you told the court you understood him to be referring to Kikuyus because the Kikuyu community, they belong to a church which requires them to wear a white scarf on their head. Is that right, sir?
I said most Kikuyu religions requires their members to wear the white to wear the white scarves on their heads.
And actually, sir, is it correct that you are referring to the Akorino church?
There are so many. Akorino, Independent, KAG, all these people do put white scarves or tie white scarves on their heads.
And for the record, Akorino is AKARINO. So you've mentioned two other churches, Independent and KAG. What ethnic groups belong to those churches who are required to wear white scarves on their head?
Most members of the churches I have mentioned are the Kikuyu people. And even those who are not Kikuyus and members of the same churches are required to still put the white scarves on their heads.
So you're saying that these churches, they also have other communities in their membership. Is that right, sir?
Yes, but minimal in number. Mostly, it is believed in Kenya that members of those churches are the Kikuyu people. But any other community is free to join the church organization.
Okay, so let me play you a video. It's Ken D09 0042 0602, and the transcript on this is at tab 164. And it can be played in public.
Tuna imani ya kwamba amezaliwa.
And I've stopped the video at 0031. So do you recognize which group these people may belong to?
Yes, these are the Divine Church.
And for the record, what we've seen is a group of people dressed in white and also wearing white headscarves, and they are singing. Men and women, yes?
You realize for the men, they have the red. Can you play and see the men? You see they have something red, not white as you see their women.
So you are looking at the men on the screen.
Can you play it?
So what you see on the screen is men, sir?
Play it, please.
Witness, lawyer is asking you, do you see the men that on the screen now? The picture is frozen, and it shows some men.
Yes, there are men who are with white, and others on this video has a red, has white and red and red in their scarves. And Your Honor, by white scarves and the way I understood to mean the Kikuyu was because of the communication of Mr. Ruto concerning the referendum that was to come on the Constitution. The Kalenjin and the Luyas who are for this church we have just been shown in this video were together against the Constitution, and therefore that is why I understood Mr. Ruto to mean the Kikuyu, and that is why he put that one, the white scarves, because most of them, and especially in that area, they were not supporting. They were supporting the Constitution.
Yes, but for now, let's deal with the image on the screen. And Mr. Kendra's point is that you're looking at a frozen frame of the video, and it is showing men. Is that the case?
Yes, the ones I see here are a few with the white
Headdress, but you're saying that there are some others who are also wearing some red headdress as well. All right, let us roll the video again to see what the witness is talking about.
Perhaps you can keep playing the video.
Yes, maybe.
You see?
Can we start afresh, Ms. Salagendra, so the witness doesn't feel anxious about the tape, what is said and what is shown?
Indeed. So I see you pointing to the screen. Are you pointing to that one man who's got a red band on his cap?
So you've seen that in this church they don't wear completely white, but there's a mixture of white and red. And also for women, there's also another green.
Sir, for the record, we've only seen so far only one man with red on his...
Keep playing. Right, Ms. Alexandra, whether you need to move on, unless the witness has something else to add.
Your Honor, perhaps I'll move on.
Yes.
The record reflects that there was only one person with a cap wearing the red, with the red band, and everybody else, the cap is white, Your Honor.
I think it might have been actually a tri-colored hat.
Indeed, Your Honor.
Yes, it might have been either black or green, white and red.
To me, it looked green, indeed.
Fair enough. Move on, please.
So, in fact, this is the African Israel Nineveh Church, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
And the membership of this church, sir, are the Luos and the Luyas. Am I correct?
Mostly, I know the membership of this church to be the Luyas.
Perhaps I'll turn to tab 154. That's Ken D09 0042 0570.
It's public document.
It's a public document. And so I'm looking at a document from the Wikipedia Encyclopedia, and it says in the last two sentences, though the majority are members from two tribes, the Luya and the Luo, the church has spread among many other tribes in the country. It has communities in the USA and the UK, London. Would you agree with that, sir?
I don't know about UK, USA membership of this church, but I'm talking about where I come from. Most members of this church are the Luyas.
Well, I put it to you, sir, that even from the area where you come from, the membership comprises mainly of the Luyas and the Luos.
May I ask my learned friend, is this also based on Wikipedia?
A witness can answer the question.
That is wrong. I wish you were my neighbor. you will see the membership being majority the Luhya. And I know even the leaders of this church in my locality.
Good. So you have this church in your locality, sir?
Yes, it is there.
Sir, are you familiar with another church called the African Church of the Holy Spirit?
No.
So let's go to tab 165A. And for my learned friend, this is from the church's website. It's Ken D09 00420607. Do you see that, sir? It's written, the African Church of the Holy Spirit. It is based in Kenya. It has a membership of 700,000. Do you see that, sir?
I can see it.
And if we go to the next page, ERN 0608. And I'm reading from the second line. Members are identified by a cross on their clothes. Men wear beards and turbans. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Does that assist you to remember whether you've heard of such a church?
It's not in my locality.
So do you know anyone who is a member of this church?
I don't.
Do you... So that would mean you don't know any Kalenjins, for example, who are members of this church?
He's not there in location number 9. I've never heard somebody saying he's a member of that particular church.
What about in Eldoret North?
I know in Kenya we have so many churches, so many with different names. You will even think that they are number plates of vehicles. But actually they are churches. Like I said, KAG in Kenya, the number plate starts with a K. And therefore there are so many churches in Kenya. But in my locality, people who wear mostly the white scarves are the churches which mostly are membership is from the Kikuyu people.
So you know that this church exists in Eldoret North, don't you, sir?
I don't know. I want to talk about where I know.
And you say you don't know any Kalenjins who are a member of this church?
I don't.
Jonas, if I can request for a photograph. It is at tab 165B, Your Honor. And it's Ken D09 0042 0605. That can be put on the screen, please. Sir, do you recognize the man seated there with a tie?
No.
Let me tell you, sir. That is Mr. Daniel Chariot Samoy, the father of Mr. Ruto.
Thank you for the information.
And what about the mushrooms seated next to him, sir? Do you recognize him?
Question disallowed.
What about the person seated next to him, sir, wearing the white headscarf? Do you recognize him?
I don't.
Would you be surprised to know, sir, that is Mr. Joshua Chariot, the brother of Mr. Ruto's father.
What is the question?
Does it surprise you to know that is the man with the white headscarf seated?
Is what I remember him saying.
In your testimony here, before this court, you said Mr. Ruto spoke in the Kalenjin language, and his exact words were, the white mushrooms still in the area were to be uprooted and eaten. Now, let's move to your first interview with the OTP. I'll call it first meeting with the OTP on 8th of October 2012.
Tab, what's the tab?
It's at tab 85, Your Honor. And that will be Ken OTP 0086 0136. And I'd like to turn to the next page, 0137. And that can be put on the screen, please. If you can zoom into number 1, October 2007, and that's confidential. It is Ken OTP 0145 0604, and I'm looking at paragraph 14 which will be 0605.
Yeah.
We will obey. Please be seated.
Mr. President, we are in open session.
Thank you very much. And welcome back, witness.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Simply for the record, Lucio Garcia for the prosecution. Mr. Steinberg cannot attend this final session today. He will be back tomorrow. I'm sitting in for him during this last session.
Your Honor, if I may, as everyone noticed in the last session, many details...
We're in open session, you know that?
I repeat?
Oh, 1 second.
Yeah.
Private session.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness.
Good afternoon.
Sir, you will agree with me that the 2005 and 2007 elections was closely monitored by local and international human rights organizations, yes?
Yes.
Did you mean 2005 election?
The referendum, Your Honor.
The 2005 referendum and the 2007 elections were closely monitored by local and international human rights organizations. That's the question.
Indeed, Your Honor. Thank you.
And the witness? Your answer is?
I agree.
And sir, for instance, I'm sure you're aware that the international observers funded by US aid was monitoring the 2007 elections, yes?
I don't know about the funding, but I can confirm that there were monitors for that election.
And so in particular, you will recall that the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights was monitoring the 2005 referendum campaigns. Am I right?
I don't remember.
Do you recall that the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights produced a report called the Referendum Report, which related to the campaigns of the 2005 referendum?
I don't recall.
Jonas, if I can go to tab 2, and that will be Ken D02 0042 0002, and that will be tab 2 of the defense bundle, Your Honor. And could I ask that page 0003 be put on the screen, please? So if you have a look at this page, referendum report, the title Acknowledgements, and it was released September 2006. Does this assist you to recall such a report, sir?
No.
And at page 0007, if I can go to 007, please. Move down to the picture. Perhaps a bit further down. And so you will see there that this report has been signed off by Mr. Mana Kiai. And do you recognize his photograph on the left?
Yes.
And if I could go to page 0010, please. And I'm going to look at the first paragraph. And it says, the Kenya, and I quote, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, KNCHR, an independent national human rights institution, teamed up with the Kenya Human Rights Commission, KHRC, a non-governmental organization, and with the support of the Electoral Commission of Kenya, ECK, undertook to monitor the constitutional referendum campaigns preceding the vote on November 21st, 2005. End of quote. So would you agree that these three organizations grouped together and they monitored the 2005 elections?
I can see it's written here. I agree.
But did you independently hear anything about this work they were doing to monitor the campaigns?
I don't remember.
Your Honor, could I perhaps hand a copy of the document to the witness so he can flick the pages, which may be faster?
Certainly so, yes.
Sir, could you turn to the page 0029? And you will see there, it's the chapter titled Incitement. Do you see? You can look at the bottom of the page, so the numbers, right at the bottom, please, ending 0029. You can turn onto there. Do you see the number? Did you see the numbers at the bottom of the page? So Ken, D09, and so forth.
Ending with?
So keep turning until you reach 0029. It goes in chronology. Do you see, sir, that's the chapter on incitement?
Yes.
And if you turn the pages until, you can flick the pages right until 0036, you can take your time to look at it. So we will look at pages ending 0031, 0032, 0033, 0034, and 0035. Then we reach page 0036, and there you see the recommendations. The Kenya National Commission for Human Rights and the Kenya Human Rights Commission recommend the investigation and prosecution of the above named politicians for incitement under Section 95 and 96 of the Penal Code. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you will agree with me, sir, that all the pages you have flicked from page 0029 right until 0036, Mr. William Ruto is not named. Yes?
Yes, I've not seen him here.
Now let's turn to 0040, sir. 0040. And it's titled Utterances Constituting Hate Speech, contrary to Section 77 of the Penal Code. Please go through that page. Then turn to page 0041. Then you can have a look at page 0042. And then we come to page 0043. And here it says, the KNCHR and KHRC recommend the following. The investigation and prosecution of the above named politicians under Section 77 sub 3E of the Penal Code for subversion and the enactment of legislation to bolster the existing law on subversion outlawing hate speech. So will you confirm that in that entire section Mr. William Ruto is not named?
Yes, in this report is not named here.
In fact, sir, the only mention of Mr. William Ruto in the whole report appears at page 0062. If you could turn to that page, please. And it appears in the section of the report dealing with gender-insensitive language constituting derogation of women. And that appears at page 0061. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
And Mr. Ruto has been singled out for uttering these words, which appear at page 0062. I quote, "We have men, and there are those who are like women because they are fearing to defect from the banana camp." Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
This is the only mention of Mr. Ruto in this entire report.
Your Honors, I object on two grounds. First of all, to the suggestion that's being put to the witness. It's obvious that the witness hasn't had a chance to read through the report, but even more so, the more overarching objection and more important concern is I don't understand why defense counsel is putting questions on this report and its content when it's clear from the evidence of the witness that he doesn't recall this report, he doesn't know of it. So once the witness has stated that, I don't see what the purpose is and the objective of going through every part of the report and having the witness look at, read out sentences or paragraphs and see what anyone in this courtroom can see by himself. I submit that this kind of report, if the defense wishes to introduce it, should be done through a bar table motion.
Objection overruled.
Sir, you'll agree with me that the present government of Kenya, where Mr. Ruto is the deputy president, has been applauded for having women involved in government and as stakeholders in society. Am I correct?
Repeat that one.
You will agree with me that your present government has been applauded for having the highest number of women involved in government and as stakeholders in society. Would you agree? Are you aware of that?
Applauded, not aware.
Has been praised, recognized.
Ms. Alexandra, what is the relevance of that question?
It is perhaps to deal with the nature of the issue raised in this report in terms of the gender-insensitive comments by Mr. Ruto, Your Honor.
But the gender-insensitive comments is not made by me, and these comments in this report are made by different people, and it is not part of my evidence, and it's my first time to look at this report, and I feel uncomfortable to continue commenting on documents that I'm seeing for the first time in this desk, and I feel I should only give evidence of documents I know of, those I have commented about in my statements or in my testimony, because I'm still obliged and under my oath to speak the truth and nothing but the truth.
Witness, you need not worry about whether or not you've read this document. Do your best to answer the question of counsel. Counsel for the prosecution during arguments will know how to deal with any reference to a document that may say more in it than the cross-examiner had indicated in our questioning. So do your best to answer the questions of Ms. Alexandra. The point she's driving at is this, that if it is the case that Mr. Ruto had made a speech where he said, remove the mushrooms or remove Kikuyus. That is an inciting speech. And that the Kenya Human Rights Commission report would have picked that up and not limited the mention of him to gender-insensitive speech. That is the point she's driving at in that questioning. What do you say to that?
Your Honor, I don't know the way Kenya Human Rights Commission and Kenya National Human Rights Commission were collecting their information in order to compile such a report. But on that particular function that was happening in...
Do not give too much detail.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Sir, on 26th of December 2007, you will agree with me that tensions were high all over the country. Am I right?
I'm not sure about other parts of the country, but there were tensions.
In fact, the allegations of marked ballot papers being ferried on behalf of the government was spreading not just in Eldoret, but in other areas as well. Am I right, sir? Other constituencies?
I heard about Eldoret.
So are you saying you never heard AP officers were killed on the 26th of December in Nyanza, for example?
I'm talking about ferrying of ballot papers.
So am I, sir. And did you hear there were allegations that AP officers were ferrying marked ballot papers in other areas like Nyanza, and they were killed on that very 26th of December? Did you hear that?
No, I heard that the APs were ready to rig, were to be used to rig elections.
Were you watching the news, sir, during those days on the TV?
Yes.
So allow me to play you a news clip and see whether that may help you refresh your memory. And I'm going to play the video Ken D09 0022 0002. Your Honor, that was MFI TD09 00049. And the transcript, Your Honor, is at tab 40 of the defense bundle.
While the clip is being set up, I meant to ask you when we got in about how we are doing on time.
Your Honours, we have reviewed matters very carefully, and we've discussed as well with my learned friend, Mr. Katwa. And I would require till the end of tomorrow, Your Honour, to the end of the day. And I understand Mr. Keegan Katwa will take the first two sessions of Wednesday at the most. And we can surely start with 658, Your Honour, on Wednesday right after lunch.
All right, proceed, please.
Sir, please have a look at the clip that's going to play and see if it will help you remember events clearly.
Barely a few hours to the polls, electoral violence has reared its head, with sporadic scenes of violence being witnessed in various parts of Nyanza province. In Homa Bay, 3 administration police are reported to have been killed over allegations that they were carrying already marked ballot papers. In Oyugis, the situation isn't different. 2 administration police were last night killed by a gang of people over similar allegations. This morning, a Nissan Matatu was burned in Oyugis Kasipul Kabondo constituency. The locals ambushed the occupants of the car, claiming they were PNU sympathizers. The visibly agitated crowd was chanting ODM slogans, claiming they will not allow room for rigging. Area Provincial Police Officer Grace Kaindi confirmed 72 administration police were dispatched to the area. In Awendo, tension was high, with locals barring any vehicle plying the route before conducting a search for any signs of ballot papers. Despite this, preparations ahead of tomorrow's elections went on smoothly, with returning officer at Nyakach Social Hall, Polodanga, saying they were set for the big day. Katina Chenga for Channel 1 News.
Sir, do you remember seeing this news clip about events that were taking place in Homa Bay, Oyugis, Awendo? Do you recall seeing that at the time?
Yes.
And compared to what was happening in those areas, sir, you will confirm that nobody was killed in Eldoret on the 26th of December 2007. Can you confirm that?
Yes, in Eldoret town, I don't remember anyone being killed.
And so it is in this context that on the morning of 26 December, you saw people gathered outside the Brookside Dairy. Am I right, sir?
In the morning, it was announced by Joshua Arap Sang that vehicles, Molo Line and 2NK had ferried ballot papers, and some were in this particular company.
So at the Brookside Dairy, how many people were there? Was it hundreds, thousands?
Hundreds.
And it is there you told the court that you met person number 6, correct?
Yes.
And you will confirm, sir, Mr. Ruto was not there. Yes?
I didn't see him at the dairy.
And the first time you see Mr. Ruto, sir, is at the police station, Eldoret police station, correct?
Yes.
And for the record, sir, we do accept that Mr. Ruto was at the Eldoret police station on the 26th of December. And we also accept that Mr. Ruto addressed the crowd there. Do you understand me, sir?
Yes.
And Mr. Ruto arrived after Mr. Farouk Kibet finished speaking, correct, sir?
I don't know his time of arrival, but I saw him speaking.
And you saw him after Mr. Farouk Kibet finished speaking, correct?
Yes.
And the crowds were still agitated that there were ballot boxes hidden inside the police station as well, correct, sir?
I don't remember about police station, but I arrived there after when Mr. Farouk was talking.
Do you not recall seeing Mr. Ruto going into the police station with the OCPD and some members of the public to inspect the police station? Or you don't know?
I don't remember that part.
And when he came out of the police station, sir, Mr. Ruto addressed the crowd and he confirmed to them that there were no ballot boxes inside the station. Do you recall that?
No.
So do you recall who was standing next to Mr. Ruto when he was speaking?
I don't know many people.
Who was standing physically next to Mr. Ruto? You don't recall?
I don't.
So do you know who was the OCPD of Eldoret at the time?
No.
And do you recall, sir, that there was members of the press that were at the police station as well?
Yes.
And do you recall that there were other monitors who were also present there, election monitors?
I don't know.
I know you testified that you don't know him, but did you hear that the KHRC monitor, Mr. Andrew Losili, was present there? Did you hear that?
No.
And so when Mr. Ruto addressed the crowd, he called for calm, and he told the people that they are mindful of the rumors of rigging, and they will do their best to ensure that the election proceeds smoothly. Isn't that what Mr. Ruto told the crowd?
That was not all.
I know you told the court that Mr. Ruto used the word witches, but I put it to you, sir, he did not use that word. What do you say?
He spoke also in Kalenjin, and that is when he used the word witches. Witches has just come out of my interpretation of his Kalenjin words. So if you are putting it that he did not speak English about on that on witches, in English the word witches or Swahili, then I agree. But if it is what he spoke about in Kalenjin, then that is wrong.
So I put it to you, in any language, Mr. Ruto did not use the word witches. And I also put it to you, sir, that the person standing right next to Mr. Ruto as he addressed the crowd was Mr. Angelos Karuru, the OCPD of Eldoret. What do you say to that?
It's wrong.
And sir, let me read to you what the KHRC monitors who were present had to report about the event, and you can comment on it. Your Honor, I'm looking at tab 32, and this is a document that was provided to us by the prosecution, and it was written by the Kenya Human Rights Monitor, Andrew Losili, and the ERN is Ken OTP 0068 0042, and I'm looking at the page 0043. And I'm looking at the top of the page, and I will read it. It says, Voting Day, 27/12/2007. That's the heading. Underneath that, and I quote, on 26/12/2007, during midday, a word went around the Eldoret town that the election had been rigged for Eldoret North, with the presence of administration police guarding the boxes. As I was travelling to police station, Eldoret, tension was so immense, and as I approached the police station, I found a huge crowd gathered around the police station, citing rigging irregularities, and a vehicle was burning, and it was suspected it was carrying the materials. Few moments, Honourable William Ruto arrived in the police station and cooled down the temperatures of the crowd and promised the people that things will go on well as they are vigilant of the process of the rigging. Sir, that's the end of quote. I put it to you, sir, that indeed what happened in the police station that day, in terms of Mr. Ruto's role, was exactly as it was described by Mr. Losili. What do you say to that, sir? Do you agree or you disagree?
Mr. Losili is not a Kalenjin, so he did not report on what he did not hear. That is what I can say about this. As I can see, it is also written at that time, because it's handwritten. It's like he was taking notes, and I think he only wrote what he heard.
So you told the court you don't know him. So let me say this to you. I put it to you, sir, and would you be surprised? Mr. Losili speaks Kalenjin.
If he does, I don't know why he did not report on what was actually said in Kalenjin.
In fact, sir, Mr. Losili is Kalenjin Marakwet. You didn't know that, did you?
The name doesn't sound Kalenjin, that's why I commented it so. I don't know him.
You might also, counsel, want to spell the name for the record.
And the actual name is this.
Your Honor, the name Andrew and the second name Losili. L-O-S-I-L-I, Your Honor. Your Honor, if I can go to tab 41, and can I request for the document Ken D09 0035 0115 to be put on the screen, please. And could you zoom into the article below? I'm looking at the article, Rigging Fears Ignite Violence in Town. Sorry, if I might just go up first to the date of the news item. So do you see there at the top? The date is Thursday, December 27th, 2007, Daily Nation.
Yes.
Now going down to the article, which is reporting on the events of the previous day. Rigging Fears Ignite Violence in Towns as AP stage sit-in against new gun order. And can you see the first paragraph, sir? And I will read, quote, "A vehicle transporting election materials was yesterday reduced set on fire in Eldoret town." And if I can go to the last paragraph of the first column, you will read there, sir, and it says, I quote, "Earlier, hundreds of residents stormed the police station after word went round that a Molo Line bus had been impounded with the papers." Do you see that?
Yes.
And underneath that, I quote, "ODM Chairman Henry Kosgei and Pentagon member William Ruto called for calm, but warned the government not to attempt any rigging." End of quote. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
And for the record, the ERN of it's here. And sir, the news report of that day is exactly what Mr. Losili reported, isn't it?
It is very brief.
Did you read that newspaper, sir, at the time?
No, but I can see it here. It doesn't carry everything that transpired on everything that was said by William Ruto at that time, especially on the language, on the Kalenjin language.
You weren't at Brookside or Eldred Police Station, were you? That's the truth.
Repeat the question.
You were not at Brookside or Eldred Police Station, were you?
I was there.
And I say that also, sir, because you have the events all back to front.
I don't understand.
What I'm saying is you have the events of the day in the reverse order than how it actually happened. Because the crowd, sir, was first at the Eldred Police Station, and it is from there that they moved to Brookside, and not the way you explained it, sir. Didn't you know that?
Myself, I was practically there, and I got from Brookside and I went to the supermarket and to the police station. And therefore, about the reverse method, I don't understand, because already when we were in the in the Brookside company, it is not that there was no one at the other side. That is how we decided to go, because we knew, we knew.
Let's move on, sir. Sir, did you hear?
1 second. Just so I understand and I get the picture. Do DCs wear uniforms?
Yes.
And DCs, are they police officers or civilian people?
They are administration officers. So they have their uniform always while on duty.
All right, thank you.
So during the Waki proceedings, the DC, and I will tell you his name is Bernard Kinyua, did you hear his testimony, his public testimony when he testified in Eldoret?
No.
Your Honours, for the record, I'm going to be referring to a document from the prosecution which they seek to admit through P13. And for that reason, I have not put the entire hundreds of pages. And in your bundle, Your Honour, it's just the relevant pages of the testimony that I've put there. And
where is it in the bundle?
I'll get that for you, Your Honour, but for the court record, it is Ken OTP.
Yeah, it's tab 46.
It's tab 46, Your Honour.
And
And the ERN is Ken OTP 0005-7542. And I'm referring to pages 7683 first. And if that could be put on the screen, please.
they had to do shit this morning.
And I'm reading now from the middle of the page. I quote, it's a question from counsel Mr. Musyoka Anand. And the question is, did you receive allegations of Molo Line bus park at the police station allegedly carrying ballot paper? Mr. Bernard Kinyua, yes. Mr. Musyoka Anand, do you know what date that was? Mr. Bernard Kinyua, it was on 26th. Mr. Musyoka Anand, were you aware of certain politician that went to the police station with regard to that bus? Mr. Bernard Kinyua, I was not present at the police station. The next reference I'd like to look at is page 7699.
And that is at another place in the documents?
In the larger document, yes, Your Honor. But for purposes of your binders, I've just put the relevant pages. And there, I'm looking at the question from Commissioner Gavin McFadden. And I quote, just a couple of questions. Do you say that before the elections, there was widespread suspicion and rumors that the elections would be rigged? Rigged in favor of who? Mr. Bernard Kinyua responds, and I quote, rigged in favor of the government, end of quote. Commissioner Gavin McFadden, quote, and you heard these rumors. Do you know who they came from? Mr. Bernard Kinyua, the rumors were spread all over, as I have in fact indicated. On the 26th, some people wanted to verify whether there were marked ballot papers in a bus which was packed at the local police station. And they did proceed to the Brookside milk factory to also ascertain the same allegation, which they found to be untrue. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Right. So, Mr. Kinyua's testimony is they proceeded from the police station to the Brookside Dairy. Now, let me continue reading. Commissioner Gavin McFadden.
But did you see what Mr. Kinyua said in the previous place you read? He said he was not at the police station.
Did Your Honor, I think he's probably explaining what he's heard.
Okay.
I'll continue reading. Commissioner Gavin McFadden. Do you know some of those people who were in that group that went to the police station and then to the Brookside factory? And then I go to the next page at 7700. Your Honor, there was a loose page that was given to Your Honor this morning because we had... Yes. This.
To the judges.
So the question I put again from Commissioner Gavin McFadden, I quote, do you know some of those people who were in that group that went to the police station and then to the Brookside factory? The next page, Mr. Bernard Kinyua answers, I did not see those people myself, but I know the incident happened. I would not have been able to identify the people. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Do you now accept, sir, Mr. Bernard Kinyua was nowhere near Eldred Police Station nor Brookside? Or do you still think otherwise?
I still think otherwise. Remember, Mr. Kinyua is a government official, and to these reports and questions he's answering, I think he's very limited on the kind of answers he's giving to this commission, and I have stated on occasions where Brookside incident happened, and that one of the police station. And I don't think that about the people he's talking about here are the people who are with him in his vehicle, but the people who are in the crowds. So I still
I put it to you, sir, Uchumi was not burnt down on the 26th of December 2007. What do you say to that, sir?
It was burnt down on that day.
Let me take you to tab 24, the defense bundle, Your Honor. That is Ken D09 0042 0148. And could we zoom into the date, please? Sir, do you see there? The Daily Nation, Wednesday, January 2nd, 2008. And I'm looking at the article titled, Raid on Church Leaves 35 Dead as Chaos Spreads. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
And I'm looking at the second column, at the heading, Humanitarian Crisis. And if you could scroll down a bit, please, to the 5th paragraph, starting Uchumi. Now let me read the news report of January 2nd, 2008, sir. Uchumi supermarket, which had remained the only open shopping outlet, was closed yesterday after it ran out of stock. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Uchumi supermarket was up and running right until the 1st of January. And it only shut down because it ran out of supplies. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Do you still maintain your testimony that Uchumi supermarket was burnt down on 26th of December?
Yes, because it was burnt on 26th. If by 2nd they were still selling, that one I don't know. Because when I said burnt down, I meant it was put on fire. And being a permanent house, it did not go down to ashes everything, but the ceiling and the roofing were burnt. If then there was repair and continued selling the stock inside up to that time, I may not tell.
Your Honours, can I move to tab 48, please? Yeah. And I'm looking at the document Ken D09 0042 0451. What you're looking at, Mr. Witness, is a letter from the Group Chief Executive Officer of Uchumi. And this is what he says. He says, Ray, burning of Uchumi Eldoret branch. The above matter refers. This is to confirm that Uchumi supermarket branch in Eldoret was not burnt down during the skirmishes of the post-election violence that occurred in the country in 2007/2008. We would like to also clarify that the only fire incidents that occurred in Eldoret branch was in 1998. This was caused by electric short circuit in the building that ignited the fire and burnt down the shop. Yours faithfully, for and on behalf of Uchumi Supermarkets Limited, Dr. Jonathan Ciano, MBS, Group Chief Executive Officer. So I put it to you, that information you gave to the OTP and your testimony in this court are knowingly false. What do you say?
No. I'm not surprised to see such a letter. Having I request that we go to a private session.
Private session.